I'm super excited for tonight. I think it's going to be a whole lot of fun. We have a lot of really exciting things that'll be part of tonight as well. Make yourself at home. There'll be opportunities for you to actually ask some questions as well to Buster. But the lay of the land is this. We've been doing these some movie nights over the summer where our pastors have been picking a movie, and then on Sunday mornings, they put a faith lens on the movie as their sermon. And so this is actually night number 4 of a movie night where we have our congregation watch a movie together and hang out. And this is the final one because summer is ending and we're already back in school. And I'm thrilled that we're able to have this Sandlot movie for us. And some of the way in which this event came about was actually on Father's Day. On Sunday morning, came out of the worship service out on the plaza, and Buster was worshiping with us as part of the service, hanging out with his family, and I just approached and I said, hey, we're playing the Sandlot movie. Would you be interested in coming and talking a little bit about, baseball and maybe some of your faith story? And he sort of paused, and I thought you were going to shoot it down, like immediately. And he just said, you know what? Yeah, I think I am wanting to do that. Let's connect more. And so since June, we've been connecting over coffee and text messages and just ways in which to think about what this night could be. And we're thrilled. I'm excited. Now, Buster had said he's excited too, so hopefully you're excited as well. But it's going to be a great, great night. So in a moment, I'm going to invite Buster forward. But also, after our conversation, we'll have an open Q&A where someone will be running around with a microphone. If you'd like to ask Buster a question, you're welcome to do so for a little bit, and then time permitting. Following the Q&A, we will watch the Sandlot movie. And then after the Sandlot movie, there's going to be ice cream out on the plaza for you to hang out and enjoy. So that is our agenda for tonight. I have an introduction that I had to write down because this introduction is filled with a lot of accolades and awards and achievements, and I couldn't memorize it because he's just an incredible person. So here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, he's a 7-time All-Star, a 3-time World Series champion, National League MVP, all Major League Baseball second team. He was the National League Rookie of the Year in 2010, the Gold Glove Award winner in 2016. He's a 5-time Silver Slugger Award winner, 2012 National League Hank Aaron Award winner, a 2-time National League Comeback Player of the Year, the National League Batting Champion in 2012. He won the Golden Spikes Award in 2008 and the Dick Howser Trophy in 2008. Buster and his wife Kristen are committed to funding research and treatment for pediatric cancers. The Poseys, yes. And the Poseys, along with the San Francisco Giants, have established a program with the ballpark to support pediatric patients and their families, along with raising over $5 million to directly support research and treatment. He's a phenomenal baseball player, a committed father and husband, a philanthropist, and more importantly, a man of actually great faith, which you'll learn a little bit more about today. Friends, please join me in welcoming Buster Posey. All right, they're here for Sandlot. We had people parked out and tailgating ahead of time for this Sandlot movie night, but you happen to be here too. I'm glad you could make it.
So, glad to be here. Sandlot's a great movie, one of my favorites.
Something I'm hoping that we're able to do in our time is just sort of humanize you a little bit, right? Anybody can Wikipedia you and learn about some of your achievements, but something that I've admired about you is just the character that you have, the type of person that you have, the great depth of faith that you have as well too. And we'll explore a little bit more about that, but just out of curiosity, and we'll get to baseball, but one of the questions that I have for you is just kind of like an icebreaker. If you weren't a baseball player, what do you think you would have done?
Oh man, that's I get that question from time to time. So my granddad was an orthopedist, and I always thought, I actually started off pre-med in college and tried that for a little bit, but with the baseball schedule, it was too much for me, so I punted to finance. I would like to think I would do something in the medical field. I think that's partly why Kristen and I are drawn towards helping kids that are, going sadly through cancer. And I'm just always just blown away at people in the medical field that dedicate their lives to helping people that are sick, and especially children. And my granddad that I mentioned, he was in the Army, and I always appreciated that he could have stopped being in the Army and opened up a private practice and probably made a lot more money, but his commitment was, to the country and to serving in that respect, and I always really just admired that.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thanks for sharing that too. All right, little baseball questions. You ready for some baseball? All right. So just out of curiosity, what are some of your favorite moments that just sort of remain with you throughout your career? What's maybe a couple favorite moments?
Yeah, I think it's hard not to go back to when you first step on a major league field for the first time. Growing up as a kid that just loved the game from the time I can remember, walking onto a field and just feeling like, wow, no matter what, I got to step on the field. I got to step in a batter's box. So that's one. And then obviously, winning the World Series, it's hard not to mention those, and fortunate enough to do that 3 times. Another one I think that really was like such a team moment for us was when Matt Cain threw a perfect game.
Yeah,
and
right.
I still get chills thinking about the way the crowd reacted during that game and just the momentum that was building up to ultimately, getting that final out. And I don't remember the exact number, but I think his was the 23rd or 24th in the history of the game. And you think about how many dang games we play a year, and
it's
then
a big deal.
Go over, 120 plus years. It's pretty rare, so it was fun to be a part of that.
But you've also had a lot of different, unique games as well too. Some no-hitters and some other like spectacular games. What's it like to be part of some of those big moments? Like, what's the sort of feelings that you have, or the memories that you have of those great moments?
Well, it's really you try your best to be in that moment because you realize how much led up to being there in that particular time, right? How many people helped you get to that spot? How much work has gone into getting there? How much sacrifice, again, not from loved ones and to your own end? So it's almost like you're there now. It's as much as you can enjoy it because the work's been put in already. So it's the fruit of the labor.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that too. As we were planning for tonight, I asked you if you could pick just 2 pictures of memorable moments, and we put the pictures up on the slide here. We pulled those up really quickly. Those are 2 pictures you sent. What was happening in those moments, and why were they meaningful for you?
Well, in all honesty, Chris, when you texted me, I just Googled quickly.
Yeah. I figured.
I found those 2
Google
pictures,
myself.
and I was like, those will work.
Yeah.
No, but the one on the left is a grand slam in Game 5 of the NLDS against the Reds.
Hey.
That was a really special series, which started off a special run for us in 2012. We had a great team that year and ended up winning the division, I want to say, with 12 games to go. And then the Reds came in. We lost the first 2 games and had to go to Cincinnati and win 3 in a row. And the Reds had a great team that year. The odds were very much stacked against us. So I'm trying to remember what inning that was. It was pretty early in the game, but that grand slam put us up 6, and I think the Reds clawed back to make it 6-5.
And a decisive win, right?
So
critical.
It was just, that's, again, a dream come true type of moment.
Yeah, that's great.
And then the other one was the 2014 World Series. That was Game 7. So both are decisive games. I guess that's the theme there, that it's decisive games.
Big moments.
Big moments. And that last out there, is a lot of people probably remember, the tying run was on third, and it was a pop-up in foul ground, and then Bumgarner with his historic performance celebrating.
And normally not a closer, right?
No.
Yeah.
That was the only time he came out of the bullpen all year. I had to double-check it the other day because we had our 2014 World Series reunion, and I couldn't believe, I could be wrong, but I think he threw 52 innings that postseason, which is just, absurd. Like, I doubt we're ever going to see that again. So again, one of those moments that you try to really relish and understand just how unique it is.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, thanks, man. That's great. Yeah. All right. Relating more with baseball again, what were some of the adversities that you faced through your career, and how did you overcome those?
Yeah, I mean, baseball is adversity.
It's like a lot of failing. I got my little league team here, and we talk about failure a lot. Yeah, right. There's a lot of failing. Lot of failing.
Yeah, you got to enjoy. It's kind of sick. You've got to enjoy failing a little bit, I guess. I don't know. But it's perspective, right? You understand that it's a hard game and that if you get 3 hits out of 10 at bats, then you're highly successful. But that's a big mental challenge, right? So you're constantly, if you're healthy all year, you're walking to the plate 600 times, right? And there's going to be ebbs and flows throughout that season to where maybe you're on a good stretch where you're 10 for 15, or maybe you're 0 for 20. And my poor wife had to deal with me on the 0 for 20s. As much as I tried not to bring it home, I was not that successful with it. But yeah, so I mean, I think in general, baseball is a great teacher of how to get back up when you fall. Physically, I had a couple of big injuries. One in 2011, collision at home plate. Broke my ankle and tore all my ligaments, and was able, again, so many good people around you that help you through tough times like that. Was able to come back and actually had probably my best year the following year in 2012. And then I had hip surgery in 2018, and was able to make it back and didn't play great the next year, but then had a good year in 2021, so it was nice to close it out that way.
Yeah, that's great. No, it's there's that saying that just came to my mind of, sports doesn't produce character necessarily, it sort of reveals character. And so adversity in a lot of ways is an opportunity to sort of face yourself and your fears, but also the things that are perhaps scary, and choose to take another step.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's well said. I mean, I think sports do reveal a lot of character. I think they help with perspective so much too. I mean, I was blessed with a great family, great wife, great family of my own now, and could always, when I got to feeling overwhelmed, could always take a step back and say, okay, what's the worst thing that happens here? You fall on your face, and I fell on my face plenty. Like literally fell on my face in Miami one time, sliding into third, and scratched my whole face up.
Yeah.
But as we'll get into, in a little bit too, I think as my spiritual maturity kept progressing, is that, my faith in Jesus was ultimately what I was going to hang my hat on. And, towards the end of my career, I would say a quick prayer before the games, just for me to just be a worthy representation of who he is in whatever way he saw that was, for his will just to come through. And whether it was, how I handled myself in the good times, the bad times, interactions with teammates, and of course, like none of us are perfect, but just asking him to give me that guidance out there on the field. And it just brought a ton of peace.
Yeah, you had mentioned, when we grabbed coffee, you had mentioned a bit about your faith story. And something that I thought was really interesting was you had reached a lot of success in your life at a super young age. I mean, 26, 27. And just out of curiosity, what was that like for you, reaching the success, and sort of a little bit more about your story and some of the way in which you've been formed from that point forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a big part of my growth towards Jesus, was through that success, and not necessarily the success itself, but the feeling that came after the success. Right. It was like, win the World Series in 2010, great. We don't in 11. We win it again in 12, great. We don't in 13. We win it in 14, great. And I can remember, I think I told you over coffee, I can remember vividly being in our kitchen in the off season and just thinking like, okay, well, it's time to start lifting weights and throwing and hitting, and like, so the goal in this is it's either win the World Series every year or it's not a success, which is ultimately what we're trying to do as baseball players. But I think personally, from a fulfillment standpoint, I had kind of dug into the lie that success was going to fill a void in my life, or have me reach a certain point to where it's like, okay, That's it.
You hit,
you know?
You hit it. Yeah. Mountaintop.
But as many of us know, right, it's no matter what your profession is, you can be the best entrepreneur, you can be the best banker, whatever, you can be the best pastor. And the line in this world, based on the world standards, are going to continue to move, right? They're not going to stop. So that's when I started digging in more. I started to try to be around people who I felt were further along in their journey than I was, spend time with them, ask questions. And again, something I think you and I talked about was we've all come across people in our lives who just innately carry themselves in a different way. There's a lightness about them that you're like, man, I want to know what that person has.
They're different.
And the way, what I kept finding is over and over again is those people were being led by Christ, and that they had, as we share in the sanctuary when we're here, the peace of Christ. And that's, I told Kristen the other day, that's become one of my favorite things to say in the morning because it just means so much. It's a peace that surpasses our human understanding. Yeah. And really, I think if you haven't experienced it, you should really set about to try to find what that means, because it's a place that, again, that nothing that the world can offer you.
Yeah. You'd mentioned that there were people that had come into your life at different moments. You know, who are some of those people, and how did they shape you? Do you have any memories that come to mind of anyone who's been a particular mentor to you, and what was meaningful of that relationship?
Yeah, I mean, I think a little bit like I said, there's people that I was like, man, there's something different. There's something, the way that they're just kind of steady, right? Like they've got their eyes set on something and they know where they're going. They know where their guiding light is. And I had a teammate, Jeremy Affelt, relief pitcher, and he started grabbing me and taking me to dinner. And, you know, I grew up in the church. Uncle's a Methodist minister, and also some pastors on my dad's side of the family as well. But I think my story was pretty similar as a lot of kids. You know, you go to church, your mom's making you go to church.
Yeah, I heard it.
You know,
I heard it. I'm a pastor. I know what's going on.
Thank your moms and dads for taking you to church. But I don't know until I really started to just dig a little bit more, to ask more questions, to be in the Word, you know, more faithfully, that I really understood what it meant to follow Christ. And not, I think sometimes we can get into a rut in like the monotony of something.
Yeah.
And it can be about checking a box more so than really showing up to truly worship, to truly take in that peace of Christ. And then to further that is to not only take it in, but now go share it with everybody that you come into contact with,
right.
Which was a big turning point for me. Was, okay, I'm playing baseball, but what an opportunity that I have each day to go and look different, like we were talking about. I remember, and again, I think it's something we talked about over coffee. A good friend of mine who was a chaplain for the Braves came into the locker room one spring, and you know, we'd spent time together over the years, and he's like, "How's it going? You know, how's everything going in here in the locker room?" And I was like, "Man, you know," I was kind of getting a little whiny, and I was like, "It's tough, Terry. You know, the music that's being played in here, the type of language that's being used, the stories that are being told, like it's hard not to, you know, kind of fall into that at times." And he looked at me very seriously and he said, "Well, you have to be different. You know, you have to be different. That's what you're called to do. You're called to live in the image of Christ." And it's not saying that that's easy, right? I mean,
right.
The world's pulling at us in so many different directions, and
yes.
It's a daily taking up of that armor of Christ.
Yeah. You had said, you know, you referenced the clubhouse a little bit, the locker room. Yeah. What kind of person did you want to be in the locker room? What kind of leader did you want to be? Behind the scenes, maybe people didn't know about this publicly, but what was the type of person you wanted to be as a leader in that room?
I think I wanted to be a guy that all 25 at the time, there's 26 guys on the roster now, at the time 24, I guess, excluding myself, but guys could come up to and talk to about whether it's baseball or stuff going off the field, just making myself available to them, whether it was after a good game, a tough game. As a catcher, you're kind of playing the role of a psychologist as well. So maybe it's a follow-up text with a pitcher after a game, and all those things were really fun to me because you get to see it's incremental gains as you go along and you build these relationships, and it's not something you're going to see results right away, but the hope is that over the long haul, this trust and this friendships that you build with people are going to come to pay dividends when it really matters.
Yeah, that's great. So we have a lot of young people that are here today that are interested in learning more about, how do you be better ball players and stuff. If you could give them sage wisdom, some sort of advice about either life or baseball, what would you say to any of the young people who play baseball, softball, youth sports?
Gosh, I mean, if you're a young person playing youth sports, it's as cliched as it is. It's just enjoy it. Just have fun. Enjoy the memories that you make with your friends. A lot of you probably have your dads or your dad's friends or your moms that are coaching you, and those are some of my favorite memories as a kid, is just being out on the field practicing in South Georgia when it was 150, and it's not like this weather here, I promise you. Yeah. But it's just soak it up, and enjoy it, work hard, practice hard. And I think that's it. Like, find a way to enjoy practice. And I think that would be the advice for the coaches too, is make practice fun for the kids.
Make practice fun. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
You've been really open, both here with me, but also, I would just say that publicly, about this next chapter of your life, post-baseball, being involved in the community, being involved at UCSF Benioff Children's Hospital at Oakland. In knowing that you're in this new phase, how do you find balance of trying to be present to all the many things, of being present to the ball players that are still at the field, to being present at the hospital, being present for your family, and you've got 4 young kids, and paying attention to your marriage with Kristen? How do you find balance in all of that?
Well, I mean, I truly believe it does get back to my faith. I think as I'm continuing to learn and grow and hopefully know who Jesus is more, is in those moments when things start to feel like they're getting chaotic or out of control, or maybe my focus or attention isn't where it needs to be. And I'm most definitely not perfect at this, but is really trying to take it to him, take it to him, and it's something we talk about. There's a couple of guys here. We have a Bible study at my house every Thursday morning, and we're really, one of our goals is to take everything to him, as small as it may seem, or minuscule to us, and understand that he wants to hear it, he wants to know about it, and he wants the relationship with us. And I think that's what, when you say relationship, it's like sometimes can be kind of confusing. Like, how do you have a relationship with a God, a triune God, that you can't see, right? It's very different than a relationship that I have with you or that I have with my wife. But in similar way, I think it's similar in a lot of ways, as to where, when you meet somebody and you start dating them, you don't instantly fall in love with them. Well, Kristen.
Yeah, maybe Kristen. Yeah.
Kristen did. Yeah. But besides Kristen, it takes time. It takes a lot of effort to get to know that person. A lot of time with them. A lot of intimacy and trust. And so I think that, to me, is like how I try to approach my relationship with God, and give myself some grace sometimes too. To know that this is a process. And I do think, on the flip side of it, the way he feels about us is much like how we feel about our own children, right?
Yeah, good.
So you think about how we feel about our spouses or any relationship, deep relationship that you make, and how much time that takes for that relationship to grow. But then our children, the first time we see them, and there's just unconditional love.
Yes.
And that's the way I believe that he sees us as well. He sees us as his children, and he loves us unconditionally. And he's just kind of sitting there waiting for us to come to him and accept that love.
Yeah, I love that you base your relationship to God with your relationships with others in a lot of ways, right? Because I oftentimes feel like I am understanding what God is up to when somebody has something, sort of a word for me to say, or does something that's like particularly filled with grace and love for me, and I'm like, oh, this is the way in which God sometimes arrives, is through our relationships with one another, right? And I just think it's beautiful that you have been, what sounds like, really, really intentional with your relationships, right? You're intentional with your relationships with your pitchers when you're playing, or you're sending text messages and you're trying to pay attention to what's going on in their life, not just in the game, but like after the game, right? There's a lot that's happening, and now also with your family and with your small group and with the people that have continued to be journeying with you as well too. And I just think that that's an important component, as always, is those friendships and those relationships as well too. So,
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
Well, I've asked you a ton of questions, but you had said you're open to receiving some questions
Sure.
from the crowd. And so we got some hand. I see a hand over here too. Yeah, if you would like to ask Buster a question, we've got Susan who's got a microphone here, and Cheryl is going to grab another one, and we'll try to get to each of you here in a moment. And let's start with who Susan hands it off to first.
Stand up? Yep, sure. Hey there, okay, cool. Thanks. Hey there, Buster. So this has to do with baseball and the Sandlot. The play at the end, Dodgers v. Giants. What's your take on that play? Did the ref blow the call, or was that a legitimate safe?
Well, I mean, when I was a kid, I didn't know I was going to, don the Giants uniform, so it didn't have the same effect on me as it does now. But let's remember that's a movie. So no, great. It's obviously such a great movie, one I watched over and over again, and yeah, looking forward to watching that tonight.
You gonna put the microphone up? There you go, bud.
My name is Elijah, and I have a question for you. How many home runs have you hit into the ocean?
Whoa.
Man.
Wow.
There's never been a right-handed batter that's hit a home run into the ocean. And my last homer I hit was against the Dodgers in the 2001 NLDS Game 1. It was my first at-bat. And if you know the right field structure out there that shoots the water up in the water fountain, it hit right off the top of that. And I would have liked to see where it would have gone. It would have been close. I would have liked to have etched my name in that on that one. Yeah.
Got in the way.
Did you ever argue with any of the umps?
Oh.
Never argue with
For ejection story or?
Yeah. I was a pretty good. I was pretty diplomatic behind the plate. I always took the approach with the umpires that they're 99.99% of the time doing the best they can. And sure, we disagreed, but I tried to, if I had a disagreement with them, I would try my best to frame it in a way that I wasn't sounding too accusatory. But, sometimes they were grumpy, and I had to be a little grumpy back to them.
My name's Hugo, and my question is it more exciting to be an MVP or World Series champion?
Ooh.
World Series champion, for sure. Yeah, no question. The team effort makes that all the more special.
Do you know what the fastest throw you ever threw to second base on a steal was?
I don't. I'm not sure what it was. You mean like a pop time or the actual velocity?
Actual velocity.
I don't. Probably wasn't that hard.
Sorry. I know there have been a lot of kids, and I am a big kid. I got two questions, if that's okay to be greedy. First is faith-based. Favorite Bible verse?
Favorite what?
Bible verse.
Probably Matthew 22, 37, 40. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, your mind. That's the greatest commandment, and then to love your neighbor as yourself. I think that was Jesus talking to the Pharisees when they were trying to trip him up about his knowledge of the law. And basically he said, you know, you can hang all the laws on these commandments right here. And I think it's just, I don't know, that's the one I go back to, because to me, if you start with loving the Lord, number one, then the love from that's going to flow down through everything else in your life. And I'm kind of a simple person, and that's simple, and I like that.
Thank you so much for being a man of faith in this day and age. So first of all, thank you for that. Second question. As a baseball player, I know there's things you can't do in the off season. I don't know, ride dirt bikes. What was your retirement guilty pleasure?
Guilty pleasure in the off season. I like golf, so I played some golf. My son is he loves anything outdoors, so getting outside with him, and same with his twin sister, just doing stuff outside with her. So I guess golf and being outside, that's not really a guilty pleasure. I guess it's guilty if I play too much golf, maybe. I guess Kristen would answer that better than me if that's...
My name's Wesley. How many times have you hit a home run in your baseball career?
Say that. How many times what? I didn't quite hear you.
Make a home run.
How many home runs have you hit?
Home run.
Do you know your total?
I think I'm around 160, somewhere around there, somewhere around 160.
Yeah.
What do you like better, catching or batting?
What do I like better, catching or batting? Depends on the day, I think. If I'm getting 4 hits, I'd say hitting. If I got no hits, I hope I'm catching a shutout.
How far was your farthest hit?
How far?
Yeah.
Man, I'm not sure. I wasn't a prolific power hitter. Probably 450, 60 feet, somewhere around there.
That's massive. just for
Hello.
us simple folk to know. That's huge.
My name is Cyrus, and I was just wondering, did you always want to play baseball as a kid?
I did. I loved baseball, before I can even remember. But I will say that I never really put all my eggs in one basket with baseball. I felt like when I got to high school, I had a chance to play in college, and then as college went along, I felt like I had a chance to play pro ball. But all along, it wasn't necessarily, make or break for me if I didn't make it to the major leagues. And so I think regardless if it's make or break or not, you're going to appreciate your time there. But I think I was able to sometimes appreciate it just knowing how lucky I was to be in that position to play baseball for a career.
My name is Bo, and who is your all-time favorite teammate?
All-time favorite teammate. Man,
This
Bo.
could get you in trouble. This could get you in trouble.
Can't do that.
Yeah.
They were all my favorite, Bo.
There it is. There it is.
My name is Neil, and you talked about how success led you to more faith in your higher power. But for me, like some of my failures and the terrible things that have happened in my life has been vital in
Sure.
leading me to my faith. Can you talk about any failures or terrible experiences that have strengthened your faith?
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, that's one thing we've been studying in James is to try to find the joy in the trials and the sufferings. And, unfortunately, none of us are immune to those, right? And then we're all going to experience that in our life. And for us as a family, we had a failed adoption. We had a couple when we decided to adopt, and one particularly was really tough. Our oldest set of twins was with us and held the baby as it was our own for 3 or 4 days, and the birth father ended up changing his mind, and it was in a different state, so we had flown the kids there, and it was just a really, really tough moment when you think you're welcoming a child into your family, and then to feel like it's taken away. It felt like a death in a sense, but I think where, to your point, I can remember going back to the hotel with the kids and Kristen, and then through tears, just still praising God and telling him that we trust him through these tough times. And I do think most definitely that he draws nearer to us when we're going through hard times, and it's such a beautiful thing. Thank him for doing that.
My name's Braden, and how come you chose being a catcher?
Oh man, it kind of chose me, to be honest with you. I played shortstop and was a pitcher in college, and then I was smart enough to see that I was going to be too slow to play shortstop in professional baseball, so transitioned over to catching and just fell in love with it. I love being involved with the plays. I love thinking along with the pitchers and the hitter, and for anybody that catches out there, you better love the position, because as you know, you're going to get your butt kicked from time to time.
Truly.
I love it.
Hi, I'm Eva. Hi, I'm Eva. I have 2 questions. They're very short. The first one is very important. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Oh my.
I don't eat it, but I told you I was a diplomat, so.
All right, the second one is, do any of your kids play like softball or baseball?
Yeah, little softball, little baseball, soccer, track, football, tennis, a little bit of golf. They're doing a little bit of everything. I think that's important for kids to play as many different sports as you can. And heck, I wanted to, when baseball was over, I was ready to transition into football and then into basketball. And, even when I was an adult playing baseball, about this time I was ready to transition into something else,
But also too, that's super important in terms of like preventing injuries and like overuse and all the things that can happen.
And I think those other sports help you become a better athlete. I was talking to a friend today whose daughter is a really good tennis player, and she was actually over in the Netherlands playing tennis this summer, and he was like, man, it's just different in Europe. The tennis is a different level. And I said, why do you think that is? He's like, some of it, I think, is that soccer is such a big sport over there that all the footwork that they have comes into play when they go onto the tennis court, and I'm sure the endurance and whatnot. So I think that's applicable to sports here as well.
Yes, spread it out, do a bunch of stuff, have a lot of fun, play.
My name is Reed. Who is your hero?
Who is your hero? That's my son.
Who's my hero? Jesus is my hero.
There it is.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jack.
My name is Jack, and how much champions have you won?
How many championships? Jack, we have won. I was lucky enough to be a part of 3 championships. Does he have another one?
Buster, he wants to know, what was your favorite one? 10, 12, or 14?
Man, Jack, that's like choosing your favorite teammate. That's hard to do. Gosh, they were all so special. It was just, again, we've talked about community a lot tonight, and I think that's what stands out the most to me is just how on fire the city was during those runs. And some of my favorite stories I hear are from people who come up and just say, those World Series champions, specifically 2010, because it was the first one, was so special for their family because they maybe were watching it with a father or a grandfather or a grandmother, that didn't live too much longer, and they'd spent their whole life watching the Giants together. So that's just so humbling. To me, that's what sports are about, right? It's about bringing people together and being able to watch and enjoy a shared interest. And when you get to experience the joy of a team winning a championship, that's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about.
My name is Ishan, and you said you were a pitcher in college. How many strikeouts did you get?
Man, I'm getting too old to remember that. I don't know. Actually, I was a closer in college, so I wasn't a starting pitcher. So my junior year, we were playing Clemson one time, and my college coach, I was catching the 8th inning, and our pitcher in the 9th inning was getting into trouble. And he kind of looked at me, and I knew that he was asking if I could go into the game. And so I did, and I literally went from behind the plate with the gear on to the dugout, took the gear off, and went back to the mound, and was successful in the save. But so my pitching trajectory was a little different than most.
Hi, my name is Yumi, and I play girls baseball, and so I was wondering, where you see the future for women's baseball, and I guess more opportunities for young girls.
Yeah.
It's growing too. That's a growing area for baseball. Is women's baseball.
Say that again.
Women's baseball is growing.
Yeah. Well, look, baseball is a sport that, again, I've loved forever, and I think that whoever wants to play baseball should play baseball and play it as long as you can. And I think that's amazing that you're getting to do it. Can I ask you what position you play? Catcher?
Yeah.
Wow.
So the tools of ignorance. Well, that's great. Best of luck to you. That's really great.
My name's Isaac, and my question is, what is your favorite game of your career?
Favorite game of my career? Well, the World Series, I'll give you 4. I think I've done them already, but the World Series and then Matt Cain's perfect game was probably those 4. I know you said 1, but sorry, I did 4.
My name's Reed, and I was wondering, how many times have you been thrown out?
How many times have I been thrown out? Too many to count.
My name's Aviana, and I have I have 2 questions. Have you been baptized before?
Yes, I have been baptized. Our oldest 2 actually were baptized last year. Have you?
No, I haven't, but I do want to soon.
What's that?
But I haven't, but I do want to soon.
Oh, good.
We can fix that.
My second question is, how did you know that you wanted to be baptized? How did the Lord talk to you?
Wow, good question. She said, how did I know I wanted to be baptized? I think that to know that you want to be baptized means that you're wanting to make a public profession to people that you've accepted Jesus as your Savior, and that you're going to put your faith in Him, and that it's a way for those around you to celebrate and to be excited about your future as a follower of Christ, and you're surrounded now by a brotherhood and a sisterhood of people that are going to love you for you through all things. And yeah, that's my description of it.
How good were you when you were a kid?
Oh, yeah. Did you struggle as a kid, or were you always awesome?
Who is that? Is that Tyler? Tyler, I'm going to put you in a headlock. I don't know, Tyler. I was pretty good, I guess.
My name is Jonas, and you were my favorite player and still are. But I wonder, who's your favorite player growing up?
So I grew up in Georgia. I grew up a Braves fan. I really liked the pitchers. We had Glavine, Smoltz, Maddox. Probably my favorite position player was Chipper Jones, which was really cool for me because I actually got up to the big leagues and got to catch while he was still playing towards the end of his career. But I was lucky as a kid to get to watch those guys. They won a lot of games, and unfortunately only won one World Series during that time. And in 2010, we actually beat the Braves in the NLDS, and I remember standing on what was Turner Field at the time, and just excited after winning the game, and looking over to the Braves dugout, and Bobby Cox, who was kind of a childhood hero of mine, who did not get along with umpires very well, by the way. He was waving goodbye to the crowd, and it was just a really surreal moment for me growing up watching the Braves as much as I did, and to see Bobby Cox. I had a part in sending Bobby Cox home. I kind of felt bad about it. But not really.
Hi, my name is Grayson, and what was your favorite celebration ever?
My favorite celebration ever. Oh, boy. I keep going back to the perfect game celebration just because it was just such a team celebration, and there was so much nervous energy that led up to that last out, and it was just really, really fun.
I don't have a question. I just want to say thank you. During, I think it was 2016-17 season, my brother moved in with me to recover from a kidney transplant, and he needed to be in the Bay Area. And one of the things that really kept us distracted from what was going on with his health was watching the team play, and we had a blast doing that. So thank you.
Well, my pleasure. I'm glad it was a good time.
Hi, my name's John, and my question is, how did you keep a competitive spirit through the faith of, or through the image of God in a 162 game season?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I think that's a big misnomer that the world lets on, that like if you decide to have the meekness and the humility of being a Christ follower, that you'll somehow lose a competitive edge, where I actually think that it's opposite, right? Like if you believe that you're taking on the power of Christ, the power of the creator of the universe, and that dwells within you, I think that trumps everything else that the world can offer you. So that's kind of the lens that I looked at it through.
Thank you.
My name is Kane. Oh.
I'm a big fan. My name is Bodie. Can you sign my ball?
Got you covered.
He's got you.
Okay.
My name is Kanan, and who was your favorite baseball player growing up?
Chipper Jones.
Your turn.
My name is Cosimo, and could you please listen to my baseball podcast?
Oh, he's got a podcast.
Would love to, yeah. Let me know what it is. I do have to say that when I came here tonight, I was wondering if there would be any questions asked, and I think this is the most questioned any crowd's ever asked me.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Daphne, and I have 2 questions. My first one is, why did you choose baseball of all the sports?
I just loved it. I mean, there's no really rhyme or reason. I just loved everything about it. I loved the way it felt to hit a ball clean. I loved the way it felt to catch a ball, and I just loved all the, teamwork that it took to be successful.
Okay, and my next question is, what is your favorite cheer of all of the cheers that you've done?
Sorry, favorite what?
Is that favorite
cheer?
Cheer.
Oh, go Giants.
Go Giants, yeah. So we got time for just a few more, and then we're going to wrap this up a bit.
Okay. First, did you ever get knocked over by a fast pitch?
Yes, many times, yeah.
Yeah. And second, did you ever get clipped by a bat?
Oh, clipped by a bat while you're catching. You ever get
I
clipped?
did. Yeah. I get hit sometimes in the head,
Ouch.
sometimes in the arm, sometimes in the hand. Again, tools of ignorance.
Hi, my name is Lily, and when you tried out for the Giants, did you think you'd make it?
Yeah, so the way that it works in baseball is you get drafted. So when you're coming out of high school or college, a team will draft you. So you have a sense that they like you because they chose you. But you don't know. You don't know if you're going to make it or not. It's a day-by-day thing, and you try to rely on working hard and practicing, and then hopefully all that hard work will pay off.
All right, maybe a couple more.
Yes, question. Long-time Giant fan from 58, 59 when they first came to San Francisco. But my question's about Mad Bum always seemed to me to be rather intensive. And whereas Tim Lincecum seemed to be a little laid back. And then there was Sergio Romo. How often did they shake you off, and how were they to get along with as teammates?
Yeah, I mean, I think it gets back again, really, like I mentioned about being a psychologist and knowing each guy's personality and understanding that you might have a good idea of who that person is, but that could change with the wind. Their mood could change with the wind. Somebody could look at Bumgarner the wrong way and he's mad. So you kind of take all of those little tidbits of information into account when you're trying to make a suggestion on a pitch. And, as you mentioned, all three of those guys have very different personalities. And as much as far as if they were shaking me or not, some games there would be times where it was very little shaking, and other games there'd be times where there's more shaking. I was never a catcher that took it personally if a guy shook, but I did want to be able to tell my pitcher every time that the reason I called a pitch, and so I would challenge them that if they shook to another pitch, I wanted them to be able to explain to me why they wanted to throw that pitch. And if they had a reason for it, good, that's a good start. But if it's not a good reason, then we got to talk about it. But if they didn't have a reason, then that's where it was really like, okay, then stop shaking me, because I'm thinking for you right now.
All right, let's say this is the last one.
I'm Cleo, and my question is, did you always want to play for the Giants?
Say that one more time.
Cleo wanted to know if you always wanted to play for the Giants.
I'll say this, that it was coming out of college. I didn't know much about the Giants or, the Bay Area in general. But once I spent a few years here, yes, it was very clear to me that I always wanted to play for the Giants and I didn't want to play for anybody else.
That's a good one. Well, Buster, I just want to say thanks for your time and sort of just your openness to sharing more about who you are, and anybody can Wikipedia you, right? And learn about, how many home runs have you hit or how many world championships have you had, but to make yourself vulnerable and open and share about your life and your journey, the ups, the downs, the ways in which God has walked with you. It's a real privilege and a pleasure to allow us to be curious about you, and invite us into that a little bit more.
Well,
There's a saying also that sort of has been ringing true to me since Father's Day when we began this discussion. That's an adage from St. Francis of Assisi. It says, preach the gospel, and if necessary, use words.
There you go. I like it.
And what I see you doing is living out your faith more and more in the various ways that you're able to make impacts, using the things that you have to be tools for loving people extremely well, myself and this community included. And just want to say thank you, and thank you for this time with us.
My pleasure, my pleasure. And then I did want to I had it on my mind. I wanted for all of us to thank Chris and the rest of the pastors that spend so much time preparing not only for a night like this, but each Sunday when they're willing to come and just feed all of us that attend church, feed our spiritual hunger so that we can go out into the world and share that with others. So I just want to say thank you guys for that as well.
Very welcome. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Buster Posey.